I was invited to the British Chambers of Commerce to talk about IP theft. I was up on stage with Peter Mandelson, the business secretary at the time. Like out of nowhere, I'm like, there was Spotify, Napster, and then us.
How did you get in the door to find the decision maker?
I mean, literally called them. With Amazon, there was a very big music, like digital music summit that happened in London. And I knew that they were all on panels.
Okay.
So I literally ambushed them. A lot of entrepreneurs actually don't know when to call it quits. One of the main kind of reasons that I was investing was actually
So welcome to the 80/20 podcast. We have a real special guest today in the hot seat, James Bott. James is a multi-exit business owner turned serial angel investor. He's backed some popular names like Heights, Moju, Reeboxed. In fact, James, you backed one of my favorite investments, Box Bar, and now you're part of the leadership team.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast, James.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really great to be here.
Awesome. So for those who don't know much about James, today is an opportunity to get to know him as a really successful entrepreneur and to dig into what really makes successful entrepreneurs so successful. So look, lots to get through today. I think the value of having James is twofold. One, he's built and exited businesses. And number two, he knows how to pick very good investments when it comes to businesses. We're not going to go and flog FTSE 100 investments and schemes like that today. We're going to talk about business to business investing. So, why don't we start with just hearing a bit more about you, James? Maybe we rewind back to 2004, I think, when you first started the entrepreneurship journey, I think in jewelry or fashion. And we go back to there and we talk a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for the very kind introduction, probably too kind. I had an interesting journey. So I decided instead of going to uni, I wanted to go straight into work. I kind of was going down the uni path and all my friends were going to uni and I was kind of there. And just before I went, I decided not to go. I, quite frankly, had enough of writing essays and I just wanted to get straight into it. So straight out of A-levels, I went straight into work, working actually at a very large diamond and jewellery wholesaler manufacturer based in Leeds. And I was very, very fortunate. I knew someone there. I was offered a management training contract, which, at the age of 18 is great. So I came in, I was in finance, I was in sales, I was in design, I was in the warehouse, logistics. So I managed to get a real good overview of this business. And obviously, because of my personality, I just naturally fit into sales. So started working there, had a job and everything was going brilliantly. I was sort of going up and down the UK quite literally with a suitcase, opening up a suitcase with separate drawers, and selling jewellery to independent jewellers, which for me was like an absolute dream because I love talking to people. And, I actually had the East Coast, of the UK, which is a very odd place. Some of it is not so nice, these sort of seaside towns, where I remember one in particular, they had a very specific sign outside the window which said, no bike helmets allowed inside, which I thought was quite odd. And I sort of went in and said, what's the deal with bike helmets? She said, well, 3 times people have come in with bike helmets and it's not gone well. So I was like, all right, fair enough. We'll lock the door. But unfortunately, about a year in, I got made redundant, which was an absolute killer for me. But the business had integrated a very large automated ordering system and they had done it very, very poorly. And they ended up with, I think it was about £20 million worth of excess stock.
Wow.
So people were ordering, the system was ordering, and it put them in a really bad spot. So I got made redundant and I was 19 years old and I was absolutely gutted. But on the flip side, they gave me quite a good package to leave. So I was like, all right. I was thinking, right, what should I do? And I decided actually, because I hadn't gone to uni, I decided to go travelling. I went travelling for like 10 months, went around the world. It was a great experience, met my wife. And as I was travelling, this is 2003, chatting to a mate on MSN, which is what you did back then. So I was on MSN. He's like, "Oh, hi, what you up to?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in Thailand. What you doing?" He was like, "Oh, I've actually just started a business." I was like, "All right, what business?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to sell clothes online." And I was like, "Mate,
Yeah.
you know, there was like the .com boom like only about 3 years ago. Bust. .com bust.
Yeah.
I said, is it a wise thing to do?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's, e-commerce is getting there." And, I sort of said, "Well, are people going to buy clothes they haven't tried on?" All the questions that
Yeah.
people asked about e-commerce, over 20 years ago. And I sort of went away and I thought, okay, well, I know jewelry sells. I said, in fact, when I was at this jewelry company, as part of a program of getting rid of some of this excess stock, I set up an eBay channel for them, and it worked really, really well. And the next step was to set up a website, set up a trade website. I was thinking, well, all right, I could just do that. Like, why would I not set up my own? So I kind of had this idea, got back to the UK with literally like, when I say fire in my belly, I've never been more excited. I was like, I had a vision. I was like, I'm going to be the first, because there was no online jewelers really in the UK, like hardly any. I think there was like a couple, but they didn't really sell. They were kind of information sites about jewelers.
Yeah.
So I got really, really excited. And, I set up Jewelry Box, and very, very quickly, it expanded, and it grew to basically to be one of the biggest online jewelers here. And it was wonderful, because the great thing about being online, and this is, I actually didn't even click in my head when I had the idea. It was only when I got back that I realized that actually I didn't need any stock, because I had this, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get the stock? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? But what I worked out was I found UK suppliers. And in fact, I found amazingly a few local suppliers. And then I moved from Leeds to London, and when I got to London and set up properly, when we had warehouses and offices, I had major suppliers literally down the road. So I kept a very, very, very small amount of stock. We'd offer next day delivery, but we would literally get the order, then we would place the order with the supplier before 6 p.m, and then we'd go pick it up at 10 in the morning. So our next, it's all essentially drop shipping.
Yeah.
So all of the stock was at our disposal, very little in terms of capital outlay. And then also the great thing about that was we didn't game the system, but SEO back then was quite easy
Much
to game.
Easier, yeah, less saturated market.
Oh, massively unsaturated, but the algorithm was a lot more immature than it is now. So I remember at the bottom of my website, I had this white banner about that big, and then I had written in white, it was like women's rings, women's silver rings, women's gold rings, women's earring, and then you would click into that, and it would literally go into an infinite amount of pages, all flooded with our stock. And then very, very quickly we came up number one for jewelry, men's jewelry, women's jewelry. Like,
was that just intuition? Did you hire a marketing person? Or was that just intuition?
No, I had a friend who was working on SEO, so he actually worked for an agency, and he basically gave me loads and loads of tips. So that's how that worked. But then also, that was on the good side. But then on the flip side, I got well and truly stung on Google AdWords. I mean, really? It was amazing. You could bid on any keyword that you want, and then you would get someone through to the website. But I wasn't properly tracking it, and I was spending an absolute fortune. But we'll probably go into that a bit later. I won't talk about Jewelry Box the whole time. Got out of that. So in 2008, there was a recession, quite a big recession actually. And quite honestly, the business was going down. It wasn't going up. And also the other problem was that in any recession, I mean, it's happening right now, when the markets go down, commodities and majority of commodities, gold, silver, platinum, they go up. Yep. So I had sales going down and costs of gold and silver going up. And it got really, really difficult. And I was actually approached by a business that were looking to get into online. And they actually wanted me to work with them. And I said, well, there's no point, just buy the business. And the reason why I did that is because I had an idea for another business that I'd already been working on. And I'd kind of done that for, 5-6 years. And I was happy to get out.
Yeah.
The next one I thought was my $1 billion business. I really thought I thought this was the one. So I started a business. This was in 2009 called comparedownload.com.
Yep.
So Spotify started in around 2007, 2008. So streaming wasn't a tried and tested model, and it was very, very limited at that time because, you know, Daniel Ek had not raised billions and billions upon billions. So it was very interrupted. Like there was like loads and loads and loads and loads of ads and some stuff you don't listen. So it was all about downloading music. But the problem at that time was that things like Pirate Bay, LimeWire, BearShare, you know, all those websites. You know, I think at the time that there was a statistic that 90% of all music downloads were illegal. So only 10% of people were actually paying for it. And there were lots of places to buy it. So, you know, iTunes was obviously the big one. Amazon had a massive download store. HMV at the time had a massive download store.
But I think the reason people were pirating back then is because it was excessively expensive. I still remember paying several pounds for a single song on iTunes.
So, yes. However, this is why Compare Download was born, because I went onto iTunes. They were selling an album for a tenner. And then I went onto Amazon, same album, £3.
Yeah.
That's 70% discount on an album.
Yeah.
And the thing is the problem with downloading it illegally is that the quality was terrible. So it was really like, and you didn't know. You would literally hit download. You might wait half a day.
You might download a virus as well. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Like loads of viruses. Yeah. Like, you know, you're killing your modems like going mental. And it was a massive problem. So we started this business, and you know, it actually took off like very, very quickly. A lot of people started using the website. The problem.
How was it monetized out of interest?
So it was all affiliates.
Okay.
So every time someone downloaded something, we would take between 5 and 10%.
Oh wow.
So yeah. So when you're looking at the average price of a download, which at the time was about 29 pence.
So iTunes or Apple would have had an affiliate link for you guys? Or?
Yeah. So at the time, iTunes did, Amazon did, because the Amazon affiliate program was massive.
Yeah.
But Tesco, HMV, and about 7 or 8 other sites didn't. So I literally went to Tesco and said, I would like to build an affiliate scheme with you. So we literally built affiliate schemes with 5 of these huge download stores.
Out of interest, just on that point, how did you get in the door? Because back then LinkedIn wasn't a big thing, right? How did you get in the door to find the decision maker?
I mean, literally called them. So like I knew, so it was the same with all of them. So with Amazon, with everyone, because also with Amazon, you had to be a certain size to get somewhere. So what I actually did was, there was a very big digital music summit that happened in London.
Yeah.
And I knew that they were all on panels.
Okay.
So I literally ambushed them. So I went and found them, and I was like, right, we know that music is suffering. I'm building a global, essentially it was, what we called it was the Google of music. Mm-hmm. So, because if you went into Amazon, you would only get what Amazon have. You go into iTunes, you would only get what iTunes have. So we had on top of all those ones, we had people like Beatport. You know, Beatport is all electro, techno music. We had this one, I can't remember what it was called, but it had like very bizarre, weird stuff. But when you searched on Compare Download, you weren't just searching for one, you were searching them all. So, when it existed, it was the biggest database, the biggest search engine of legal music in the world. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, we quickly realised that you couldn't make any money out of it.
Because it needed scale, right?
It needed more than scale. It needed scale. It needed a lot of money. But then what we actually did was we added a lot of stuff into it. Mm. So V1 was basically we built with chewing gum and sellotape. It was an off the shelf price comparison bit of software, and then my business partner Darren, who's incredible on the product side, you know, he basically created workarounds
Yeah.
and different ways of getting APIs in. Some of it was literally XML spreadsheets. So at the beginning, we were taking XML spreadsheets with half a million line items, and we were uploading it into the website every single day.
And the prices would change.
Because the prices
Yeah,
would change, so we had to do it every single day. It was wildly inefficient. Then we set up the new site, but on the new site we then started to introduce more ways of making money. So we had tabs. So you would search for whoever you wanted. You would get the music first, and then we would have videos. So you would get we would have the official music video. There was a company called Muzu at the time, so they would have official music videos. They were running ads, so there's ad revenue there. We had primary and secondary tickets. So we had Ticketmaster bringing in primary tickets. We had Viagogo doing secondary tickets.
Yeah.
And then the final tab was actually Amazon. We had an Amazon store, so it would be merchandise. So you search for M&M, you would get everything. It would all be pre-populated with M&M. And we tried to make money that way. Long story short, it was just too much of a
too much of a hassle. Yeah.
It was not too much of a hassle. It was just we sat down and we looked at the numbers, and we looked at how much money we would actually need to raise in order to make this a proper business, and it was just the numbers, just the maths was not mathing.
Maths, yeah. I mean, that's a critical moment, right, in a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
A lot of people actually don't hit pause and go, right, I know I've spent 3-4 years on this, and there's sunk costs, but those are sunk costs. Does this make sense to take forwards? And often the answer is no.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of guts to do that, right?
I think it was a really important part of the journey, because I really, really wanted it to work. I was like, because also optics wise, everyone that looked at it was like, oh my God, this is a game changer. We hired a PR agency, and I think it was the easiest job for them, because literally within days, I was on the interviews with with Sky. I was on TV talking about illegal downloads. I was invited to the British Chambers of Commerce to talk about IP theft. I was up on stage with Peter Mandelson, the business secretary at the time. Out of nowhere, I'm projected into this mental world. We were in every single newspaper. We were in the Sunday Times. We were in part of the top 10 music websites. There was Spotify, Napster, and then us. So we were number 3. It was mental. So it was really great, and I really, I just really wanted it to work, and it was hard. But I remember sitting down with Darren, and we were just like, I'd never raised money today. I never raised a penny for Jewelry Box. Yeah. I wasn't really in the world of raising. We were actually approached by investors who said, we've basically heard about what you're doing. It was actually some people that Darren knew. We've heard what you're doing. We want to put money in. And I was like, all right, because I'd put money in. Darren had put some money in. We're like, well, great, yeah, let's do that. And I felt this guilt, because I just knew. But then we also sat down. We had a meeting, I remember, at one of their houses, and we all just sat down. We were like, right, we've tried our best. We've pivoted a few times. I'm not going to go into it. We also set up a whole social media side of it, because obviously Facebook at the time was gaining massive traction. We were like, okay, is there a data play here? But the initial traction which went up was plateauing. We'd started to spend more money on it to get more traffic, which is never a good sign, because obviously when you're sort of 8 months in and everything's gone up, and then all of a sudden you're having to spend money to get people
more to get the same.
And imagine spending money on AdWords and getting 29 pence, 5% of 29 pence for someone that you've paid £1.50 for.
Back then, yeah, but imagine today with the cost of AdWords today.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just ridiculous.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been mental.
It's so overpriced. I just think all the cool things that one could have done in the early 2000s.
Yeah, but you say that, but it still wasn't cheap then.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, obviously it's expensive now because there's so much competition and so much bidding.
Yeah.
So obviously, the higher you bid, the higher,
but
the higher you
all
become.
businesses have different strategies, right? I know some companies, even professional services businesses, they run like 90% of their leads come from SEO, and they have a team of 6 full time in the office doing it. And then others who are like, nope, just referrals, just have affiliate partners. We give them 10%, 15%, and we do no marketing, no sales. And it's like,
yeah, great. But go back to AdWords. There is a place for it. If you've got someone who's very good on the performance marketing side of things, and you're tracking that properly. I've got a few of the businesses that I'm involved in, and AdWords is where the bulk of the business comes because, it's maths basically. It's maths. It's a funnel. It's engagement. It's conversion rates. And if you can get X amount of conversions, which ultimately the percentage of those are going to get sales, then you'll happily pay 200 quid if you're going to get 5 grand out the other end. There is a place for it, but it's certainly not in the music business because it was just, it was a car crash. And we ended up actually merging with a very big price comparison website at the time.
Okay.
And, I think we got a few checks for 300 quid for about 6 months. And then I don't know what they did with it. I think it just basically fiddled out into nothing.
So you got a small exit and then...
I mean, it wasn't an exit.
Yeah.
There was no money. I mean, I was wildly down on it. Because we put money. We were getting very little out of it. And that's again why we decided it's just not working. But yeah,
could this have been predicted before, do you reckon?
I think Darren and I think deep down we knew that music downloads were not going to work because we knew how many you needed, like hundreds of millions to basically break even on the money that we'd need to spend. But we knew that there was lots, like with the tickets, the ticketing program, that's getting serious because, rather than 5% on 29p, you're looking at 10% on, 250 quid. So that's where you can start, making a bit more money. And also on the Amazon stuff, there was definitely more money to be made there. So that there were other ways of making money, but still, the numbers just weren't strong enough to warrant doing it. And we just decided to knock it on its head.
Sometimes it's got to be done, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of, to your point before, you were absolutely right in saying that a lot of entrepreneurs actually don't know when to call it quits. And I think I've seen it lots and lots of times where business, I'm not talking like what we raise 150 grand. I'm talking millions, tens of millions, because they don't want it to die. Yeah. And also you've got investors who've invested on the first, second, third round who also don't want it to die. And they're chasing that money. And I mean, the amount of times it's ended in tears, it's just not worth it.
I mean, that's the problem is you're just going to keep pouring money and energy into it. And there's one particular investment we have, which is at that stage now. And I saw it about a year ago, personally.
Really?
It's just one of those things where it's just like you just got to take the dog out the back and shoot it. Like,
unfortunately, yeah. Although I think now it's happening a lot less now because valuations and metrics that investors were looking at, 5-10 years ago were quite frankly just ridiculous. Like they were stupid. Like not even looking at fundamental metrics because, you don't need the revenue, you don't need the profit to get the multiple on the exit. Now, it's a different world now. Like you need revenue and you need profit.
I mean, there's a lot of, quite frankly, there's a lot of going around. There's a lot of angel syndicates and groups of people raising capital for like secondaries or something. Not even secondaries, but like really late stage rounds for like SpaceX. And then that syndicate is taking a clip off of all of those investors. And that syndicate's part of a co-investment with another fund, which is part of another fund. So this just becomes, I mean, that poor guy who doesn't realize his 20 grand is...
Literally. I had one recently for a very, very, very well-known fitness wearable. Right. I'm not going to say who it is.
I wonder.
But it was very, 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 very well-known. And what you just said is exactly... it's like... What my money that I put in there is so insignificant.
Yeah. Even if it 4x, it's like
it's completely mental. Like, it's absolutely mad. I mean,
we'll go more into investments later, but after this business, is that when you started the marketing company?
No. So after that, I actually, for the first time in like 8-9 years, I actually didn't know what to do. I didn't have another business idea, right? So I actually went to get a job. I just got married. We just actually bought a house, and I said to my wife, I was like, I need to do something. I had a bit of cash, but nowhere near enough to do nothing. So actually, I went to look for a job, and in the process of looking for a job at a recruitment agency, I met the person who owned the recruitment company, who basically, we started speaking about recruitment as me going into recruitment, into doing mobile marketing recruitment, because that's what I'd talked to them about. So I actually ended up, instead of getting a job, I ended up doing recruitment for about a year.
Wow. Okay.
Which as it happens, was actually one of the best years. I think I learned so much in recruitment. Recruitment is tough. Recruitment is hardcore.
Well, it's sales basically.
Sales,
right? Yeah.
but it's not just sales. What's really fascinating about recruitment is there's a huge amount of psychology in recruitment that you never realize. And it takes quite a long time to understand how it works. I'll give you a great example. So I remember working with this guy for this job, and I'd been working with him for maybe 5-6 months, right? Which is a long time to be chatting to someone every day, going through multiple rounds of interviews with multiple businesses. It's long, right? And then finally get him an offer. It's more than what he's on. And do you know what he says to me? He says, I just spoke to my wife. She doesn't think it's a good idea for me to move at the moment, so I'm not gonna bother. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't ask about the wife. So okay, fine. So talk about the wife. That's one thing. And then the other thing, it's actually constant reinforcement of why what you're selling is better than what they've got. Yeah. So what you do is when you're talking to someone, and this goes for any sales, I did it when I was working in agencies, and a lot of people do it, and it's quite obvious, but people don't do it as much. It's like, right, so you hate your boss, yes. You hate the working hours, yes. You don't like the money, yes. You haven't got enough responsibility, yeah, right. So just to confirm, this current one, it's you love the guy, you love him. It's flexible working hours. It's more money. It's more responsibility. So what we're waiting for? Like, there's what we're doing. They're like, yeah. Like, what am I doing in this job? Right, done. So like the psychology
classic
side
sales,
of it.
Yeah,
exactly. Literally classic sales. So that was really interesting, but it just wasn't for me. I'd been so involved running my own business and actually being out there doing it. Anyway, long story short, I was actually working a role at M&C Saatchi, the advertising agency, and I'd met them a few times, and the CEO, James Hilton at the time, I'd met him. He was unbelievable. And basically there was a business development job there, and I went into there, and very, very quickly, I think in that 5 years, that business grew exponentially. When I left the business in early 2016, I was global director of business development. I was managing all of their sales and business development. Yeah. And it had gone from not a small business, but it had gone from a good business to a massive business, 20, 30 people to almost 300. It was. So
you played the role of the entrepreneur then?
Basically, yeah. Well, the great thing about there was that business was actually a business prior to that, and that business got acquired. And the guy, and James, whose business it was, he was actually essentially on a 5-year earn-out.
Yeah.
And he had full autonomy on that business, and I was very fortunate that we were very close. He literally said to me, like, learn how to run a business, a big business through here. I had full exposure, to everything in that business and the full runnings of everything, which was really, really amazing, because what I'd done in Jewelry Box and Compared Down, that was good money, but this was like on a completely other scale. We're talking, tens and tens of millions. which was, for me, that was my first like real taste of, the big time.
Yeah.
And then, yes, it left there in 2016 to start my own agency, which was the ASO Co., which we pioneered a process called App Store Optimization. And that was an absolute whirlwind of a business. We went from Tom and I with zero funding, to a multi-million pound business with global offices. Again, zero funding. We never took a penny of funding. We launched that in 2016 and we exited it in 2018.
2 years.
Which was
Boom.
mental. Yeah, it was very, very quick.
Was there an exit plan from the start?
Yeah, so we actually had a 3 to 5 year plan.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because with anything in marketing, when we started, App Store Optimization was very niche. But even when we were looking to sell the business, when we got into the process of selling the business, we looked at the different timelines for earnouts. And generally, so an average earnout in marketing is 3 to 5 years. When I looked at our revenue, I looked at, have we got another 5 years left of consistently growing this business? And quite honestly, the answer was no, because there was already competitors coming in.
Yeah.
Like all the big agencies were jumping on board. The independent agencies that we were working with were getting stronger at what we were doing. Yeah. So, when Jellyfish, who acquired us, they offered us a 2-year deal, a 2-year earnout, which was absolutely perfect. So, yeah, we sold it in 2018 and then officially left in 2020. And
just
then
before COVID.
Well, no, it was mid-COVID actually. It was an interesting one. In fact, we were extremely lucky because my earnout was supposed to end in July 2020. COVID started February, March 2020. That's when it really started to happen. But Jellyfish did a deal with another business in November 2019. And in December 2019, we got bought out of our contract. Okay. So I stayed there until July 2020, but the deal was done. Like we agreed all the numbers, we agreed the earnout. So I was like looking at everything, and it was not going basically if we hadn't have done that deal, it would have been a very different outcome for us. Yeah, because unfortunately, when things like that happen, one of the first things to go usually is marketing spend.
Absolutely.
And it was just no one really knew what was going on. Like a lot of things froze. So actually, it was timing wise, I was very, very, very lucky there.
And App Store Optimization in a nutshell.
Yeah, so it's like I would never usually say this, but the easiest way to describe it is it's like SEO but within the App Store. So we would our biggest client was probably eBay. So we did eBay's global App Store Optimization. So if you went into the App Store in any country, so I think we did about 40 countries at peak. So the description of the app, the long description, all the meta tags, the videos, the logos, all the screenshots, everything. But it wasn't a case. So every single app store is different. So UK was different to US. You'd say, oh, it's only English. But then if you went into the App Store in the US and you searched for buy and sell, we might be number 1. But in the UK, we might be number 80. So like the keywords that you're putting in there are very different, even if it's English.
So it's not just the language.
No. So you're physically optimizing for the particular rankings in that market. So that's why it's not translation, it's localization. So we had my biggest cost base was translation. So we had in-house, I had Japanese, Korean, Chinese, I had all the European languages. Because
it's crazy to think how different that business would be today, though, right? With
AI, probably
with AI and stuff. It's just like the translators are out of a job in a lot of not all the time, but in a lot of scenarios, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, 100%.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
Didn't realize the app. I mean, obviously it should, but I never realized the App Store worked that way. I just thought.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was based on who was downloading the apps
Well,
and
no.
names
So
and stuff.
well, our biggest sell was your ranks. So we used to. So we had a tool that we built, which we could basically we would select 10 keywords, and then it would just automatically tell us where that app ranked. So I went. So our next biggest client was Spotify. So Spotify was a huge client of ours. You would immediately assume that for words like music, free music, download music, play music, that Spotify would automatically be ranked. They were like number 90, number 100, like literally off the scale. And then we would show the volume for those keywords, and they would just instantly say,
it's a tough one. It's a tough one because people are fundamentally not that rational. You know, I've had people book sales calls with me for completely wrong reasons. I actually got off a call earlier today. Somebody thought I was a bailiff.
Really?
Yeah, we have a new offer going. It's about like payment invoice chasing automation. So it helps you basically make sure that you get paid. You know, a lot of businesses, law firms are chasing contracts that haven't been paid. We put an ad out for that. Lots of legitimate businesses responded. Yeah. And I had a woman today saying, "Oh, you're a bailiff, aren't you?" And I said, I almost felt like being rude and saying, "Did you read the thing properly?" But obviously I took it professionally. But yeah, I mean that's probably why you need such good SEO or App Store optimization, because somebody's going to search something completely ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in different countries as well, right? Different,
of course.
Yeah, semantics. Yeah.
Semantics are different. Everything's different. Like, you know, with eBay as well, like, so eBay's strategy is, so they've got essentially two marketing teams. They've got the buyer team and the seller team, because they're trying to attract both people. So you've got a team that actively goes out and finds people to buy, and you've got a team that actually actively going out to get people to sell. But, you know, in the App Store, so when they were looking for buyers, we changed everything to essentially we would position it more to buying rather than selling. If they were if they need to get more sellers on board, we would literally change the video. The first half would be all about selling, the second half would be buying, then we'd flip it round, and then it would be like sell your stuff. Then we'd look at deals and whatever. And then but then we'd, you know, like seasonality. So like in the summer, everything would be, you know, trampolines and water guns. And then in the winter, it would be cozy stuff by the fire and Christmas deals and obviously Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can do in the App Store. And if you think about a company like eBay or Spotify, so I can't talk numbers, but like, so so what in the App Store, you get all the data of how many people land on your page and how many people download the app, right? So you can see that conversion rate. Yeah. If we change the needle by 5%, that is
millions for some businesses.
Literally millions, in not just in terms of downloads, but in terms of revenue. So we very small changes would make a massive impact. Yeah. Which meant that actually, you know, what we were charging for the service, you know, what they were getting back for it was insane.
Did that make it selling it easier though?
Easy peasy. Yeah. Easy peasy.
So it was almost a return on investment based sale.
We were generating significant return on investment. So actually with eBay, we did a deal with them, and I locked in 18 months contract with them, guaranteed, which, you know, at the beginning I was really excited about it, but then I was like, oh shit, I should have done 12. Da, da, da. When the 18 months came up and it came to contract negotiation, I spoke to our client in San Francisco. I actually flew over there, and I was like, you know, contract renewals coming up. I said, when we started working with you, there was 5 of us. There's now 40 of us. I'm like, it's a very different business. He was like, James, literally any number you want within reason, put it on there and I will sign it now. That's how much they were getting out of it.
I know you guys are experts in your field, but why wouldn't a business like eBay have that orchestrated by their own in-house team?
So this was the beauty of what we were doing, and this was the beauty of App Store optimization. So there was no formal tracking within the App Store. So there was no tools, no nothing. So being able to track installs down to purchases was nigh on impossible. So 50% of that business was made up of
analytics,
data scientists, data analysts. So we built systems that these businesses could never ever do in a million years. Like I spent, but it's millions on it actually, on creating these systems. We created our own in-house tools, and not just looking at installs. We then expanded it. So we looked at the ratio. We had ratios between what you're doing digital. We were putting in TV slots. So we were looking at what are you running, what out of home campaigns are you running. We were filtering that all into our system, and then we were actually extracting that, and then we were showing this is what revenue we're giving you. This is the uptick that you've got from your billboards outside. This is what TV's giving you. So that data was impossible for them to get, and we had the key to it. So it was, at the time, it was brilliant.
I mean, that's when business clicks, right? Is when you can give a client such a huge return on investment.
Exactly.
It's not even.
That's what it's all about. I mean, that's when things become easy to sell.
But also tracking and managing the impact, because we had lunch a couple of months ago, and that's what you said. You need to give clients a client impact report with this is exactly what we've done for you, because often, I mean, I this conversation with a client today. It's not what you've done for them, it's what they think you've done for them. And if you're, it doesn't really matter if you've done an amazing job and created 60% revenue growth for them. If they don't know that and don't realize, it's a complete waste of everyone's time.
Absolutely. And also like showing them, what else you've done for them. I think that's also an important thing, because what we used to do was we used to say, right, this is what we're contracted to do, but just so you know, we've also run 3 or 4 different surveys for you. We've actually done another 10 sets of creative just because we wanted to do it better. We're not going to charge you for it this time, but look at the impact. Do you want us to do it again next month? Right, yeah, okay, well, that's another $3,000. Great.
When it came to launching that business, were you pioneers in that as an agency offer, or did you get the idea from a US company, or how new was all of this when you launched it?
So people were doing it, but without being rude to those people, they weren't doing it well for all of the reasons that I just went through. All of the tracking, analytics, none of that was available. And I think when we came out the blocks, we had such a large emphasis on the analytics side of it, which was the big piece that was missing. Because what people were doing they were spending money on ASO and being like, okay, well, maybe it's worked, So there was no real data. So they couldn't physically look. They couldn't look at the return on investment, which within marketing and certainly within performance marketing is huge. That's what it's all about. So we came out very quickly with a number of different products, and quite honestly, it was mental. So we had, we got eBay, then we got Spotify, then we got Twitter, then we got Hotels.com, then we got Walmart, then we got, we had the roster of clients was out of this world. It was crazy. And then when you've got that, we're going and pitching to someone, well, these are our clients. It was like,
taking candy from a baby,
literally straight away. It was brilliant.
You hit the nail on the head there about data analytics, knowing where you're at. And even today, where it's so easy to do through just AI in general. Most people don't do it still. And I think you hit you hit the nail on the head there when it comes to, it's not about doing something different. It's about just doing it better than other people.
Literally.
And everyone always talks about USPs. Well, it's just, let's just do this 5% better. Not 5% cheaper, but 5% better.
I honestly could not agree more. I think there are so many products and businesses out there that you could just do better, and you would actually have a great business out of it. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
The challenge is the cost to entry, though, right? So
it depends what you're doing.
Exactly right. So I mean, I'd love to start an airline, right?
Yeah.
Because I think most of the airlines out there are doing a really, really bad job, and they don't think about customer lifetime value, loyalty, all of that sort of thing. They think they do, but they hire the wrong people to advise them on it. I'd love to start an airline, but the cost of doing that.
Well, do a Richard Branson.
And the regulations.
You know how Richard Branson started his?
Well, illegally during a charter
flight. He basically borrowed. He rang Boeing and said, I want to buy an aircraft. And they said,
when he did it legitimately, But how it got started was he got stranded.
Oh, really?
And he chartered a plane and then sold seats on it. So super smart, love it. I love the books he writes. He's an amazing guy. I look up to him massively. But you know, there's a guy, was it James Asquith, I think. He started Global Airlines recently, one A380. He's managed to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I think what analysts are saying about it is, well, actually, when you do want to grow an airline of that size, the cost of operating and the risk of having one plane,
Yeah.
it's very risky. And it's not like the problem isn't that, of course, he could do it with 20 planes or 100 planes, but getting to 20 or 100 planes financially, operationally, making it all happen is the hard part. So I'd love to go and create a new airline personally, because I think most of them are absolute dog shit. But
that barrier entry is very high. It's very high. I think in the world generally, if you're not wanting to start an airline, I think the barrier to entry for most businesses is lower than it's ever been. Like websites you can build in literally 5 minutes. Products you can, like, I know someone who has taken a product from China and it's costing them £6 and they're selling them on Amazon for 40 quid.
That's great.
All day long.
Yeah.
And do you know what they're doing? Nothing. The stuff gets sent straight to the FOB centre. Don't touch it. Yeah. Don't touch it. And also, I've got another friend who does a similar thing with another product which costs them about, I think they pay about 5p for this product, and they sell them for £3 all day long. Stickers, actually.
Listen, I mean, I've read articles about people during COVID, and I'm not talking about the people who did all the government deals or the NHS deals. I'm talking about people who just sold like face masks on Amazon. Yeah. And, you know, it's sort of like, you know, they'll be there one day and their children will be going, you know, Daddy, how did you get rich? And it's going to be
PPE.
I sold a load of face masks for 3 months during COVID.
100%. I know people who did it.
And I took out credit card debt and I took out loans to do it, but I did it. And that's why we have a beach house.
Yeah, literally. No, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, you didn't even need government contracts. You know, it was an absolute wild west. Like for PPE, hand sanitizer, all that stuff. Yeah. You know, because also there was such a shortage of it that if you could find a supplier that had it within regulation, the NHS would literally snap your hand off.
I've seen recent events. I mean, this is all about, you know, jumping onto opportunities when they present themselves. But do you know when there's the solar eclipse? Mm-hmm. Again, another one of these guys who did the face mask during COVID. He did the solar eclipse. I think it was early this year or last year. And I think he posted it. He did like 3 million of sales or something.
Mental.
Now, I don't know what the margins were. I'm assuming they were pretty good. But point being is, like, you and I could have thought of that. Yeah. We didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those things, right?
Yeah, I think there's always opportunity. Yeah. I think with, you know, I think not generalizing here, but I think the problem is that I think a lot of people have ideas, they just don't do it.
That's the main thing, right? It's the risk, it's the time, it's... I mean, it's a tough one, but I mean, the mistake I see most people making is trying to do too many things at once. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. We have a million ideas that we'd love to execute and no time to do it. Yeah. And we all, you know, we read the books, we watch the movies, documentaries about people who've become really successful. And it's like, oh, well, they're a multi-business owner, they have 6 businesses. Yeah. Well, but they worked to get there. They have people doing their job. They're not you in your bedroom doing 4 businesses. There's no point. So I think my time will come to do some, really fun stuff like that. But if you're going to spend 20 hours on that during your week, that's 20 hours not growing your core business. And if you've got investors, that's a real middle finger to them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd be a really angry investor if I saw somebody I invested in doing work somewhere else. Yeah. It would be ridiculous. But so you exited that company, the App Store optimization business, and what happened next? Was that was your big exit?
Yeah. So that was big exit, and then I did actually stay there for about 3 months, and after 3 months, I just wasn't for me. You know, I was sat on sales calls with like 20 people, looking at spreadsheets. I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Like, without being arrogant, I didn't need to be there. There was just no need of me being there. And actually, like, I remember Rob, who was the CEO of Jellyfish, like, when we had the conversation, I said, look, Rob, I really appreciate everything, the exit, the job, the offer. I said, it's just not for me. And he actually said, I'm surprised you're still here, to be honest. He's like, what you doing here? I was like, I don't know. Just, it's just, I just felt like maybe it was something inside me that maybe to support the team, and I don't know, but it was a very swift exit after that. And And actually, that's not when I got into investing, because the investment journey started pretty much when I sold the business. Well, I dabbled a little bit before, but not really meaningfully. But actually, the investment journey started in around 2018, when I got my first tranche of money. And you're gonna love this. One of the main kind of reasons that I was investing was actually for tax reasons.
Yeah.
So when you've got a big tax bill coming, generally you will. I'm not, obviously, this is not to I feel comfortable enough because I've given HMRC more than enough. But when you're in those situations, the government has very good tax breaks. For investing in businesses, EIS, SEIS, where, you're getting, up to 80% tax relief on your investments. And I wanted to invest anyway, so I wasn't doing it purely for tax reasons, but I spoke to my accountant, he's like, well, look, if you want to start investing in businesses, now is the time, because, over the next 2 years, you're going to have basically 2 sizable tax bills. So if you're going to do it, now is a great time to do it. And that's kind of where I started to, look a bit more carefully. And, that's kind of how I got into it.
And in terms of sourcing those investments, was that from your network? Did you hire financial advisors to throw it? What were you looking at? Because you've got a really good network, right? You've got some pretty impressive people as friends and business partners. So how did you come across all of these things?
So every single one of my investments has been from network. Yeah. So I've never done a syndicate. I've looked at them and I've got nothing against them, but it has always been about people that I've either met in the past, or people, that I've met recently, or people that I've been introduced to. So literally every single investment has been, like you mentioned, Heights.
Yes.
So when I started the ASOCO in February 2016, it started off in a borrowed desk in a mate's place. And then when I think we were 4 people, we went into a place called Runway East, which is in Moorgate, which is actually underground. It was actually pretty cool. And Dan had a business. So Dan Murray-Surter, who's one of the founders, him and Joel, they're the 2 founders of Heights. They were running a completely random another business called Grabble, which was almost like a Tinder for clothing. Nice. And they were on the desk next to us. So that's when I met Dan. Yep. And then we literally went for a coffee in Soho House. And I think he'd mentioned it, or someone had mentioned it. And Heights was still on a deck. And I met Dan, and I knew Dan, and I'd seen all the stuff that he'd done. He's a smooth operator, and also Joel as well. And I just you just know that you're putting money into something. And also the business generally is a great idea, and thank God it's doing really, really, really well. So that was that.
So co-working kind of spaces. It's funny you say that.
Yeah, co-working spaces.
That's where most of the people I know actually have met.
It's a great place.
Co-founders, met investors, met investment
opportunities. It's full of entrepreneurs, especially places like, obviously WeWork and those places are also full of entrepreneurs. But Runway East, which is still going really, really strong, the basis of Runway East is social entrepreneurialism, if that's the thing. They actually when you want to rent a desk in there, they sort almost like a bit like a Soho House type thing. Like they look at who you are, what the business is, and they look at the other businesses, in that particular space, and they're like, oh yeah, that would be really good, and actually there's already opportunity for you. So it's brilliant, awesome. Really, really good. Like the Moju guys, I met we were Tom, my ex-business partner at ASOCO. We were invited to do like 35, there's like 35 under 35 entrepreneur lists for startups.co.uk. Yeah. That's where I met Rich and Charlie, who started Moju. And again, did I know anything about ginger shots? Absolutely nothing. But those 2 guys, very smart. Again, ex-City boy, Rich is very smart. And actually, I'd had different conversations with him, and I said, look, if you ever want to raise money, I'd love to get involved in some way, shape, or form. Actually, one that you hadn't mentioned, this is one of my favourite stories, actually, is a company called MXR.
Okay.
So MXR do, it's always so hard to describe what they do. So they do, it's like photos. So basically, they've built a system where you can literally take a picture of an object with a camera, with a flash, and it will automatically process it into a almost 100% photorealistic 3D image.
Nice.
It's mental. Like they do a lot of stuff in gaming, because the process of creating 3D is still take an image, whiz around with a camera. Then it goes into production. So when it goes into production, they go, right, this is plastic, this is leather, this is this. They have to look at the texture, the shading, the this, the that. So the database that they've built is every single material known to man, how it works in shade, in the dark, in the light, the this, the that. I met Ryan in the pub. In the pub. I was actually having a pint with a mate of mine, and his mate came, and then he said, oh, a guy who's actually living with me at the moment, I'm going to invite him down. So I'm talking to Ryan, and he's talking about this, and his business partner Elliot, who's a 3D specialist, and all this sort of stuff. And it just blew my mind what they were doing. I was like, is anyone else is anyone else doing this? No. And I invested in that literally before they'd even fully got it off the ground. First investor. And then Epic Gaming invested, and they've actually just done another raise. Epic have have got involved again. So I met him in the pub, and so it's.
I mean, but what I'm hearing here is it's about getting out, and I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs today don't do. Is it's the whole hustle. I can work from anywhere, nomad thing, and you can meet nomadic workers in Bali and stuff. But I just think going to co-working spaces, going to bars, talking with people again, like we're okay at this in the UK. I think a little bit better in the US, just socializing with strangers. But I mean, that's where I've met some of the most amazing people, for business, for business purposes. It's just amazing when you join the dots back from some of the deals that I've done and some of the clients that I've met. Yeah. It's literally going up to that person. Like I was in the toilets at Kensington Roof Gardens, and I'm sure we'd all had a few beers by then, but I was just chatting to the guy next to me and we were washing our hands, and turns out he flies helicopters, I fly planes, and he was like, oh, we should go for a flight. I'll take you off of mine, you take me up on yours. And it's like, obviously it's a nice high-end place, you're going to meet people like that, but if I hadn't have said anything, wouldn't have had that happen. Of course.
And also I think just networking in your industry is important as well, because I think the world that I came from, which is media is very entrepreneurial. You've obviously got very big agencies, and they're very well established and publicly listed businesses, but then the majority of businesses, all the ad networks and creative houses, they're all they're all founder-led businesses. And actually I think what happens in there is it also breeds entrepreneurialism as well, which I think is great. And then, because there's quite a few businesses that I've either invested in or had the opportunity to invest in, are people that I've known who've worked in, either ex-suppliers or partners or whatever. So again, I think also what's important, and again, this is just such a silly little point, but a really important one, is I think you talk about personal branding, right? And I think personal branding is really important. Like, not for me, not so much maybe like putting myself out there as like a thought leadership, but more about every single person that I come into contact with. I think it's really important that you leave a good impression, because when that happens, that is where your introductions come from.
Absolutely.
That's where, you get I get phone calls and messages all the time. It literally happened today. I get an email, I get a message on WhatsApp. I want to introduce you to this guy. Email comes in straight away, and it's potentially a really good opportunity, and that doesn't happen if you're basically. I'm sure loads of people think I am a twat.
Yeah.
And that is fair enough. But you know, I have actually tried, you know, hard to look after people in my businesses that I work with. Tried really hard to, you know, not people on deals and, you know, always hold up my end of the bargain, which goes
If
a long. If you're known for being, then you're going to have serious problems.
I mean, look, you can be a cutthroat operator, but you don't have to be a dick about it. And I think it's important that I mean, my main thing is I love to help other people without getting something back. And I'm not talking in the holistic sense of, you know, giving food to the homeless, of course, like, you know, donations, all that, whatever. What I'm talking about is if I see a friend of mine or somebody I know and they need help with an introduction or an investment or some sort of a business thing, I'm going to give without wanting to get back.
Of course.
Because that's good energy.
100%.
And that'll all come back around eventually.
Literally, it gives me so much pleasure to just make an introduction that I know is actually
cost you nothing.
That I know is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'd never in a million years ask for anything.
Yeah.
You know, you're just not the done thing, you know.
Yeah. I mean, but most business is referral based after all, especially high ticket services.
If it starts to get to a point, or if it's business to business, and I'm sending you loads of leads.
Oh, that's very different.
But even on that basis, I will always start off with a handshake and just go, look, let's see what happens, you know, and we'll test the waters. Yeah. And then if we get to something, let's get a deal in place.
Oh, look, it's a cost of doing business. If I could get 6 clients next month from you and I make 100 grand next month from those clients, I should be giving you your kick on that because that was the cost of getting business. I could have spent that on meta ads or on networking events or on dinners. I think a lot of people don't see that. And a lot of people are, I think, quite naive to that. So when you do make an introduction and you don't hear back, oh, thanks so much for that. The pet peeve I have is
that's just rude.
When I make an introduction and then there's like a 3-day silence period on a WhatsApp group that I've created. I'm thinking, well, I'm never introducing that person to
I know. I feel exactly the same way, especially on like Are you
kidding me?
I've introduced people, and then the next day I've literally rang them and been like, "Why have you not responded?" So, oh yeah, I'm getting to it. I'm like, well, get to it now because I've just introduced you to someone who I know because I know you. And I'm sorry, but I think 24 hours of absolute silence on your end is not acceptable.
Well, especially when you're being helped by somebody.
Yeah, it literally takes 5 seconds, just even if it's a holder or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I had it recently. Was looking at a new sort of partnership deal, and I asked for some credentials from somebody, and they sent me a load of documents, and I was like, okay, look, I just need these 4 things, and they said, oh, it's in there somewhere, and I said, no, I just need these 4 things. You're looking for my money. I need those 4 things. That's all I need. I don't care how you put it, bullet points, a pitch deck, an email, call me. I need those 4 things. Yeah. And they're like, oh, I'm just like, look, you're looking for my money.
Yeah.
I think beggars can't be choosers. Obviously, really early in your journey, you can't necessarily choose who to work with. You've got to take that work comes to you.
I agree.
But eventually get to a point where you're just like, look, I'm not dealing with any of you because I have these sort of morals, ethics, a way of operating. For me, it's really good communication.
Also, it's an interesting point that because I think it's one worth talking about, and that is how you communicate with people. Yeah, and I think what I learned fairly early on is that basically people don't read anything, right? So you send a really long email, chances of someone reading it, like I'm a massive fan of bullet points. So when I want to email someone, I literally will do a sentence and then it will be a bullet point, a bullet point, a bullet point, a bullet point.
Way to do it.
And that's it. Because I know that if someone sends me a long email, I switch off because it's not how I process things. Yeah. And I don't, not so much out of the time to read it, but it's just so long. Like, and I think if more people there was a thing that I read about newspapers that they generally, if you look at newspaper websites or whatever, it's usually a paragraph is no longer than 4 sentences. Okay. So after 4 sentences, that is like statistically when people's brains switch off. So if you're sending something like that, the chances of actually absorbing that information is so low. There's just no point in doing it.
I agree. Fundamentally, I agree with that. I think one point that I will throw into this is culturally. that does differ. So I'm very much on your wavelength of being concise, bullet points. I don't have time, you don't have time, whatever. But last year I started doing business with some Korean companies, and I'd never done business in Korea before. And they're the complete opposite. They don't want anything concise. The more, the better.
Really?
And in fact, if the answer was yes, they'd prefer a report that basically said yes in 20,000 words, because they feel like they're getting more, especially if they're paying you loads of money for it. I got this advice from a Brit who'd lived out there, is married out there, has business out there, and he was like, look, it's just, that's how it is out.
Yeah.
Well,
it's good that he told you that, because not understanding cultural nuances is a massive, massive no-no. Yeah. But like, okay, I'll give you a really funny example that I got massively burnt on. Like in the UK, if I start dealing with you, right, and I say, right, Dillon, I'm happy to deal with you, but only on a pro forma, so you have to pay me up front. You'd be like, what? You'd be like, what you want about? It's 30 days. As in, like on a B2B on a B2B standpoint. Yeah. Like asking for money up front is very frowned upon generally.
It's tough.
You can do it, but usually with any business or certainly with agencies or whatever, it's 30 days. Yeah. Like, or obviously 30 days minimum, and then obviously it can go up, but 30 days. Like in India, I mean, there's no such thing as credit. You get paid or you don't do the work. Yeah. Muggins here going around offering 30-day terms, and everyone's saying yes. And I remember I hired a guy in India, and he literally laughed. I laughed in my face. He was like, what on earth were you thinking offering terms? He's like, everything's prepay out here. Everything's prepay. And unfortunately, some of the companies that I was dealing with took the piss. Some of them took like up to like a year to pay, which is mental because.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's really, I mean, getting people to pay, even if they're good for the money, is really hard. And I think, that's a pain point. Almost all, maybe not B2C companies as much, but almost all businesses have trouble is actually getting money in the bank once the work's been done, even when you've got a contract. Yeah. We're trying to solve this in our business at the moment for other people. We've launched an offer to do that, but it's just like there's so much money in it. If you could increase the on-time payments and the non-defaults, but culture's everything in that. I've lost a lot of money on some international deals for that. So when I give people advice and say, look, culture does matter, I'm not saying that because I've read a book and went to business school. Yeah. I'm saying that because I'm out about 50 grand over the last 12 months on some contracts. Yeah. So it's like, I do know, I've lived it. Yeah. So, I mean, if we talk a bit about the investments then, obviously those came around quite organically, which is in itself unique, because if I think about how deals that come across my desk, it's because I position myself as somebody who likes to angel invest. We're very well connected as a family. Yeah. People find us. But I'm sure you do have some investments which didn't go well. Maybe you don't, but when I look at your track record, I'm like, damn, I need to just copy what you're doing. To be honest.
Well, I mean, I'll talk about the bad investments, but in terms of copying, I think it's an interesting point, because actually, if you look at what I have invested in, I have not gone for big unicorn. That's not what I've gone for. Yeah. So I've gone for product. So is this a really good product, right? Yeah. Is it potentially solving a problem? It doesn't have to solve, ginger shots don't necessarily solve problems. I mean, it's good for your gut health and stuff, but it's not solving a global problem. But it's a very niche category, and it's a great product. And they position themselves in a way where, yes, there are copycats, and you can go to Starbucks and get a ginger shot, but it tastes like watered down. No, sorry, Starbucks. Doesn't taste good, right? You take a Moju shot, and it's like fresh roots. It's just a different class, absolutely different class, and that's what really attracted me to that. And the other one, which is pretty crazy, does it make money, right? Yeah. And how quickly are we going to make money? And also, what does an exit look like? Because for me, it doesn't have to be a £1 billion exit, but I'm gonna. So I got sent in a deck recently about this product, and it was in the same space as Moju.
Yeah.
And I obviously, because I'm invested in that, I get a lot of inbounds, and it's so funny because the people that come to me, it's like, oh, you invested in that. This is my product. You invested in that.
Yeah.
This is my product. And I looked at the numbers, and in year 5 they were doing 2.5 million revenue, and I was like, guys, and then they were going to sell to Dillon, and I was like, guys, and I wouldn't
2.5 million revenue.
2.5 million revenue, and I was like, guys,
Right.
even if I put money into this, it's not worth it. Like, it literally wouldn't be worth it on the multiples that you're looking at, and the amount of the value that you're looking at. It's absolutely not worth it. So when I look at investing in businesses, I like people to be punchy, because I think punchy is, it means that, there's aspiration there.
Yeah.
If it looks ridiculous, then I'm not interested, because it just gets beyond stupid.
Yeah.
But then when you read between the lines and you look at, actually, there's a real chance here that, okay, it's not going to be, $1 billion, but it could easily be 50 million, right? A 50 million pound exit, when you've got in at early stage, decent cash, right? You're getting a very decent multiple. You're in something that basically chances of it failing are relatively low, and I think that's the other one as well, because I think there's a few different types of investing. There's what I would call the spray and pray, which is people investing maybe 5 to 10 grand into 50 companies and hoping that one of them is going to be a unicorn. I don't necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of people do it, and a lot of people are lucky, and they do get a unicorn.
Yeah.
Whereas I think for me personally, and again, I can only talk for myself.
Yeah.
I'd rather invest in something more meaningfully that might not necessarily be a massive exit, but when it does exit, I'm going to get a good multiple on my cash, because the way that I look at it is that money could be invested in the markets, and I might get 10% a year, right? And that's pretty good.
I mean, that's a baseline, right? You can get 10, 20% if you invest prudently.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like over COVID, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But 10, 12, 15, whatever is a good return on investing into a portfolio. So then when you look at diversification, if you can take 50 grand and 10 exit or 5 exit, then, that's...
I mean, it also depends on
that's a very good... It's a very good... safe return, and for me, having a load of safe returns, maybe I'm not being more, maybe I should go a bit more wild, but I don't think there's any point. Like, I invest to get my money back, to get more money back.
Exactly.
I don't do it for a laugh. But I think a lot of investors, like, people think, oh, investing's cool, I want to invest in loads of different stuff.
Part of something for some silly reason.
There's a lot of ego in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, I've invested in this, and and the chances of them getting money out of it is very, very slim, which I don't think it's not an intelligent way of investing.
No, it's not. I mean, I have a very similar thesis to you, right? I'd rather get a 5-year 4x exit than I would maybe 100%. Get a unicorn after wasting millions. It's like, what's the point? And also
the percentage of people who've cashed out of unicorns is so small.
Oh, it's tiny.
It's absolutely tiny. It's really, really, really small.
And actually, getting your cash out's a problem, even if things do go Series A, B, C, right? Getting your cash out on secondary can be very difficult. I've got several friends who are Series A, B, C co-founders. They're not living particularly well because they're not one of the 1% ABC startups that are actually going to make it. So they're kind of sat there thinking, well, I've sold as many secondaries as I can. Yeah. I'm taking a moderate salary, but this ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing, like, again, I think when you invest is also really, really important. Yeah. Like, I won't invest in, A, B, C's.
No,
I'm not interested. No. I think, like, but then it's really difficult to get in, like, to find, friends and family rounds is very difficult unless you know someone. Getting in at seed is a bit easier because there are a lot of pre-seed and seed level investments. But again, like, you've just got to pick the right ones.
Well, for me, it's about, I think as I've come on my journey as an investor, for me, it's more and more and more become about the team. So previously it was more about the strategy. And then, I've invested in companies, really strong teams.
Yeah.
Again, we'll talk about Boxbar in detail, hopefully, but Boxbar is one with an amazing co-founding team.
Yeah.
And if you gave me Boxbar tomorrow and I bought it from you and I threw you all out and you took all the relationships as well, I wouldn't be able to grow it the way you guys are. It doesn't work that way, right?
I mean,
and that's the fundamental, right? You can just do it better and faster than everyone else, and there's nobody else has a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, of course. But I think generally, the team is very, very, very important. You know, the cliche, you invest in the founder. You do literally invest in the founder.
Yeah.
That is what you're doing. Don't get me wrong, I think the product has to be good, and I think the strategy is important.
Yeah.
But if there's a numpty at the helm, I mean, you've got no chance, basically. It's a shame, actually, because, you know, there's a lot of really good people out there.
Yeah.
But for me, if they don't have some sort of track record, I do find it really difficult to put the money in, because I know, unless they've got a really, really strong advisory board, unless they've got really good people backing them. But even still, on the advisory thing, like, I'm just getting a bit skeptical in my old age, but the advisory thing, like, there's so many advisors that literally are just, I don't think they actually really give advice. Like, you know, part of the building a startup deck is getting a picture of an old man, unfortunately.
Essentially.
And the woman as well. But basically,
especially women.
They call it
diversity.
Yeah, like, you know, get some grey hair in there. You know, that's our member of our board. And a lot of times I see it and I'm like, okay, well, that fella does look quite interesting, but I'm not sure how he relates to what you're doing. How much is he going to be involved in the day to day? Probably not that much. Like, I don't know. I'm just not.
It's
not
all
convinced.
Sales, right? It's like if you're trying to create a new soft drink and you've got the ex-CEO of Pepsi as your strategy advisor, it's gonna get attention, right? I mean, I spoke with a construction
100%.
startup, SaaS business, not a startup. I mean, they've been going for 10 years, I think, last week or the week before, and they've got the chairman of Balfour Beatty, or however you pronounce it, as their board advisor. There's no better proof point than that, because he knows everyone.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think if they're very good, yes, but I think in terms of the actual founders, I think I wouldn't say if they haven't run a business before, it's a red flag, because that would be really stupid. And I would,
I mean, Microsoft wouldn't exist, right?
Well,
Apple,
exactly. It'd be really silly, but. I think there has to be a good mix, definitely. Like, my strategy in business is I've had a business partner with all of my businesses.
Okay.
All of them, apart from Jewelry Box, that was slightly different. But every other business, I've had a partner. Compare Download, ASO, obviously Boxbar, because I think it's absolutely essential to not just share the burden with someone, but to have someone who's got completely different skills to you. Because that is an unstoppable team. Like with ASO, I had Tom. Tom is basically much more intelligent than I am. You know, he was head of strategy at Saatchi's, very, very clever. He ran all the strategic stuff, the analytics, all the analysis, did all that.
Yeah.
Amazing. With Combat Download, Darren, again, incredible product. Now he's chief product officer at a huge business. Just very, very intelligent, knows products, like the back of his hand. So you do the product, I'll basically do the commercials and the sales. Same with Tom. And then similarly with Boxbar as well. I mean, you've got Resh, who Resh is very, very commercial. In fact, Resh is probably one of the most intelligent people that I've had the pleasure of working with. He just knows what to do. Like, he knows his way around a spreadsheet like you've never seen.
Great.
He's very technical, on the software side of things. So he knows products, great ideas, man. Just brilliant. Like a great person to work with. And then Andrew is separate. He's more on the ops side. He is more on the logistics side. And then, not just myself, but everyone, we all sort of help, but is more on the, on the commercials and the sales side. But without the rest of them, and without the rest of my other business partners, it would either be not impossible. I probably would have just had to spend a lot more money hiring someone really good to come and do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because I did want to ask you about that today. I've had the experience of doing my own thing, which I have still running, and I've got a business partner in one of the businesses I have. I think that the challenge comes is when there isn't that alignment. So alignment on shared vision and all that, that's easy to get right. But alignment on how you run the business, what you both bring to the table, and then there's never going to be, well, maybe you've
there
had a
is
good
a
experience, but
solution.
there's never going to be sort of, oh, well, they're doing exactly what we're doing, and therefore they deserve their 50% and I deserve my 50%. That's where it gets challenging.
Well, first of all, the percentages, the percentages.
Yeah.
You know, those are agreed, they're locked in, and that's that. Like, there's nothing you can really do about it. Even if someone's not pulling their weight, unfortunately, you know, you can't just take the shares off them, unless they agree. So it is.
But in hindsight, what I'm saying is for founders today or entrepreneurs today who are like, look, I've got a great idea.
Yeah.
I've got a mate or I've got an ex-person I worked with. They could be a great running partner.
Yeah.
I'd probably say, based on my experience, if you had the capital, hire somebody who's a rock star employee to do that with you. Because guess what? If they 6 months burn out and don't do a great job, cycle them out. They're replaceable. Whereas you can't replace your partner to buy them out.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But then I would say, so with Tom and an ASO, like, I'd worked with him for like 4 years at Sarches. Like, I knew that he was the best man for the job. Like, I knew there was no one else out there could do what we wanted to do. It was actually a really funny conversation with Tom because I said to him, because and he won't mind me saying this, but it was my idea to do it. But I sat Tom down and I was like, right, I would like you to come and be involved in this business. And he was very reluctant at the beginning, like very, very reluctant. He sort of ummed and ahed for quite a while. And I was like, what on earth are you thinking about? He's like, well, I'm just not sure. I was like, look, I want to do it with you 50-50. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. And he was like, I honestly thought that you wanted to do like 80-20, at the very best 70. I was like, no. I was like, I want it 50-50. You know, I want it to be down the middle. Let's just go and smash this thing. No questions asked. Let's do it. But what we actually did in that business was something that someone else had told me to do. So we actually wrote CVs for ourselves, job descriptions.
Perfect idea.
So I was the CEO and Tom was the CSO, Chief Strategy Officer. And then we literally labelled exactly what I did, what he did, and then we looked at the crossovers, because obviously there's always going to be crossovers. Like, it's like he was always going to come on pitches with me. Like, that was never not going to happen. I was always going to help with certain things that he was doing. So there were crossovers there, but there was a lot of stuff that was on my plate and a lot of stuff that was on his plate. And when it's on your plate, there's no argument. It's
roles and
why have
responsibilities.
this is on your plate. You do it. It's not, oh, I thought you were doing that, or, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that I was doing it. No, it's literally in black and white. And I would urge anyone in a partnership to do that, because when you've got it there in black and white, you can't argue with it. And it really, really, really helped. Like, we just knew what we were doing. Like, I stayed in my lane, he stayed in his. The stuff that we did together, that was it. But, you know, it just made everything very, very clear.
I spend probably 20%, 25% of the time with my clients on this exact thing, which is, what are you doing and what are you responsible for? What are you doing? And you'd be surprised when businesses even get to, 50, 60 million revenue. And they still haven't really figured out who's doing what. It's not written anywhere. There's no task management solution. And the reason why things are taking so long and why it's so stressful, it isn't because it's hard. It's because you've mismanaged it. And as soon as you get something like that in, it's perfect. And I guarantee you, I could probably walk into most of the offices in this building and they'd have the same issues. They might have a job description on Indeed.com, but that's not good enough.
Definitely.
No, I'm really glad you said that, because, it's such a critical point to drive in. And it also helps with your hiring roadmap too, because you can kind of see, right, well, I can't do all of this.
Definitely.
Right. There's no way to do this without hiring someone else.
I mean, it's interesting. So Tom and I, we actually, it's funny. So fairly early on in that business, the agency, we actually had a plan, which was basically to hire ourselves out of a job. That, believe it or not, was because why would you want to do more when you can do less? Quite frankly, so we weren't hiring ourselves fully out of a job, but we wanted to get to a point where we had a solid senior management team that pretty much did everything that we did, that would then allow us to go and look at what's the next phase, what's the next product, so we did get to a point where we quite literally, we could leave the business, and we did leave the business and it still functioned, perfectly. But even before we sold, we got to a point where it was probably, it would have been very easy for us to move away for 6 months, and the business would have still run like clockwork.
I mean that's a really hot topic these days at all the business podcasts, is like replace yourself. I think that counts, but I think a lot of people try and do it far too early.
Yeah,
just like
probably.
You've got 6 people, you've been going for 6 months.
Yeah,
it's not time to replace yourself. Like, you haven't got a business.
Yeah.
And one thing that sort of my friends in the US do quite well, and I mention the US because I think they're just more risk taking. Mm-hmm. They delegate like hell. Mm-hmm. Which is awesome. And I always challenged them on it and said, well, yeah, but no one's going to do that as good as you're going to do it. That kind of a thing. And they're like, well, look, if you can do it 80%, if you get someone else to do it 85% as good as what you're going to do, no one else is going to know.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree. Yeah. I think letting go of the reins for any business owner is really, really difficult, but it's absolutely vital. Yeah. Like, it's vital. You cannot grow a business without, you'd have to let go of the full reins, but eventually you let more and more and more and more go. You have to, because people coming into your business need the responsibility. Like, if you think you can do the same thing with you and a business partner as you were doing with 50 people, then you're off your rocker. In fact, if you are doing that, you're completely stupid, because why would you? You should be hiring people to do those things and do them competently, so that you can go off and secure the future or the next step, the next phase of your business.
Yeah, and hire with roles and responsibilities, but also don't just hire VAs or outsourced sort of talent that is cheap. Yeah, I know a lot of these internet money guys running coaching agencies, courses.
Oh God, don't get
me
started.
Have terrible VAs, and you know what? Fair play to them. They are all making great money. Some of them are genuinely making great money. I've looked under the hood, but
they make great money out of telling people how to make great money.
Listen, I'm not backing the courses, but what I'm saying is the quality of those VAs is so bad. Yeah. And I'm like, if I was an accounting client, accountancies try and do this. If I was your client and I'm asking for my June numbers, and I get a badly written email back at 3 a.m. from somebody clearly in the Philippines who didn't understand the question. Yeah. I'm thinking, why am I paying you $1,000 a month to be my accountant when you've outsourced it all to them? Yeah. So quality can't dwindle that much. I was going to ask you, just sort of close off, maybe talk a little bit about Box Bar. I guess, for the audience who don't know who Box Bar are for whatever reason, they've never been to a festival in their lives. I'm only joking. It's a new thing. What is Box Bar? And what's the most exciting thing that's happened this year with it?
Oh, okay. So Box Bar is a self-serve dispense drinks technology business. Yeah. So long story short, it's a self-serve drinks machine. So we serve 2 beers in around 8 seconds. We can do 2 spirit mixers in about 6 seconds. So it kind of like picture an ATM, but instead of getting money out, you're getting booze.
It's not bad.
So it is quite good. So that's the dispense side, and then the other side of the business is the technology, and the technology is, in terms of what's available globally, is heads and shoulders above everything. I mean, it's everything's remote. So if we put the machines go into festivals, arenas, stadiums, race courses,
high football venues,
bowling alleys, exactly, like high football venues. Everything can be managed remotely. The menus, the pricing, they can be remotely turn off, open, closed. Yep. We have loyalty programs. We have dynamic pricing, happy hour pricing. We have a very advanced stock management system. So if you go to the pub and they go, oh, sorry, I need to change the barrel. I mean, that would never happen with our system.
Yep.
So we know exactly to a percentage how much is left in a barrel. We have stock notifications to them, so people can go and change them. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, it's an insane product that is growing like we'd never imagined.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm following it closely on LinkedIn, especially, and it's just one festival, one horse race after the other, one Formula One race after the other. I mean,
we're just Silverstone is coming up.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm the biggest advocate of this for the main reason that I hate queuing.
Yeah,
I don't like badly poured beer, and I don't like bad customer experience. And this solves.
Well, have I got a solution for you?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've been looking for this for years, and I tell you, like the amount of drinks I've had with my family, with my dad, with friends, sat there waiting for a pint, and it's poured wrong, and especially a pint like Guinness, right? You have to pour Guinness. In the right way, the right temperature. You got to get so many things right.
Well, we are Guinness certified
My
now.
God.
Proper. We are fully Guinness certified. Yeah, we actually have completely modified one of our machines, and we've been through numerous stages of testing with Diageo Ireland, and we are officially certified. The Guinness that pours out of our machine is incredible. It's insane.
Because I mean, you've seen the clips of I think it's Wembley, wherever that football game was held before, of people literally scooping beer out of sinks. No due care. I mean, why firstly is Wembley paying 20 people to run around a kitchen like idiots? And secondly, how can they be charging that much for a warm, badly poured beer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's a tricky one. I mean, there's 90,000 people going into Wembley Stadium, and they have, thousands of staff, some temporary, some not. So it's quite difficult for them to, quality control everything. I'm gonna have to use diplomacy here, because we are talking to Wembley. But yeah, I mean, look, but the other thing as well is that there haven't been solutions. There haven't been solutions like Box Bar, or there have been some in the past, but they're either too big or they're just not suitable for the venues. And not just Wembley, but all the football stadiums, they use what's at their disposal. And at the disposal at the moment is those machines that kind of pour out loads. They put them all on the hatch, and they sit there. And it's not ideal, but we're slowly getting into more and more.
I think
venues.
To the point of, if I was sat as head of loyalty or head of customer experience at a high football venue, I'd be thinking, well, actually, the customer doesn't really care that it's hard, and they don't care that the staff are temporary.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm a customer.
Absolutely.
I couldn't care less. I care that there is a problem, and it's not being fixed, and there are solutions, and they have more than enough capital at the rates they're charging us to enter their stadium to deploy that. And I mean, I'm not sure how big Box Bar is in the US at this point, but I know a lot of the NFL stadiums have had massive investment. I forget his name. One of the early guys at Microsoft. I think he owns Packer. I think maybe whatever his name is. He owns one of the very large.
Steve Ballmer.
So he did a walkthrough of his new stadium, which was sort of like his baby, and the stuff they've got in there is just insane. Yeah. So there is money out there.
Yeah, definitely. No, we are entering the US. Yeah, we've got loads of good conversations. I think the thing is with the US for us is I think it's very easy to expand too quickly. Yeah. I think with any business, and I think especially with something like Box Bar, where it's not a software company. We're not, deploying software. We're deploying a machine that is going into a physical machine, going into a physical venue where there's multiple things to be mindful of. Yeah. So yes, we are expanding. We're in lots of other countries as well, which is great. But yeah, we just have to make sure that we've got the right support, resources. But yeah, I mean, US is a massive market, and it's mad. We've got literally people chomping at the bit. We're not going to the US because there isn't business. We're going because we're the ones saying, right, we need to do this in a systematic and pragmatic way.
Well, I mean, that's what's beautiful about Box Bar, though, is that there is that scale opportunity when the time comes. There's an infinite amount of things. I mean, nozzle technology. One of the things I'm quite passionate about is good rooftop bars.
Yep.
And good rooftop bars aren't built with the infrastructure to have keg rooms and
No.
storage and stuff, right? But box bar would solve that.
It would solve it as long as they've got a lift.
Yep. which most of the time they do.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah,
how can I get a
absolutely.
high quality pint of Guinness
Definitely.
at a lovely rooftop bar in
100%.
New York and Miami? Well, you can't is the answer.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have that.
Yeah. That all within the realms of possibility.
No,
Definitely.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
So I guess just sort of closing off then. Want to close off with some quick fire questions.
Oh gosh, here we go.
And one of my favorite questions to ask people is what's one piece, or what are the bad pieces of advice that you see being given out to entrepreneurs these days? What's the worst sort of thing that you keep seeing and hearing that you wish you could just sort of take off the internet?
I'm not a massive fan of saying failure is good.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's important to fail,
Mm-hmm.
but I think people need to be a bit more intelligent with how they use that phrase.
Yeah.
Because failure, yes, you learn a lot from failure, but failure can also cost you an awful lot. So I don't like, I think failure's been glamorized.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, I've had failures and I've learned from those failures, but I don't think we should be glamorizing failure.
Okay. And what's the biggest risk that you've ever taken in business, would you say? Or what's a moment that you felt the most anxious about things?
I mean, every business.
Yeah.
Every business comes with risk.
Yeah.
Like, there's no. Well, I mean, look, leaving Sarch's, I was
Start your own thing,
extremely comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I was earning really good money there, and starting the agency was a massive risk because I'd got myself to a place with my family, with my living life, where I was extremely comfortable. So that was a big risk because it wasn't guaranteed to work. But yeah, I mean, look, I think everything in business is a risk. Entrepreneur, the life of an entrepreneur, unfortunately, is a life of risk.
Yeah.
But calculated risk, which I think is important, which goes back to the whole failure thing. Chances of failure are a lot lower if you don't go into it thinking, oh, well, if I fail, it's fine. I'll learn lessons.
No, you
I
can't.
think everything has to be calculated risk. I think then you've got much lower chance of failure.
100%. I second that. And I guess interesting last question, and if you're happy sharing, after your big exit, what's a splurge that you had, or what was the first thing that you splurged on that you mightn't have done before, or that you've been looking forward to do?
Well, I mean, look, the house was probably the biggest splurge. But I have always been very into watches.
Mm-hmm.
I've always collected watches. And once, we did the first part of the deal, that gave me the funds to go a bit nuts on some watches that probably shouldn't, just really expensive. But, why not? That's something that I love.
Exactly.
And also, at the time, it was actually quite a good investment as well. It's quite hard. It's quite rare to be able to put money into something that you absolutely love that is actually quite a good investment.
Yeah.
And watches is one of them, which has been great. So, watches, probably.
Love it.
And I don't know. If you ask my wife, she'd say holidays.
I mean, that's a big one, right? Experiences.
I think
not walking down the back of the plane is a nice point to get to.
Absolutely. Well, turning left.
Yeah, I mean, if that's yeah, indeed. So, James, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been super
great.
interesting. Lots of insights for everyone, and maybe we'll have to have you on again in a couple of years when we've exited Box Bar, if that even happens.
I hope so.
It might just IPO and become the biggest thing ever. Maybe
nothing is outside of the realms of possibility.
Damn right. Awesome. Thanks so much.